Algebra 2 CST release questions 63, 64, 65. These are all in some way dealing with exponentials or exponent rules. So for 63, in the equation 2 to the x is graphed, which of the following values of x would produce a point closest to the x-axis? With 2 to the x, since that's a whole number 2, it's bigger than 1, your curve is going to go up to the right. It's an increasing exponential curve. If it were, let me move this down, y equals 1/2 to the x, some kind of fraction, 1/2, 1/3, anything between 0 and 1, the curve would be going down. That's the first thing you got to know. So we go back to the problem at hand. We have this curve going up. Again, the point closest to the x-axis. As we go to the left this direction, it's going to get closer. This curve is going to get closer and closer to the x-axis, but it's not going to touch. So basically what we're looking for is the smallest of these values. Between 1/4 and 3/4, we know 1/4 is definitely smaller than 3/4, so it's not going to be that one. We have 5/3 and 8/3. Both of these are bigger than 1. 3 goes into 5 once, 3 goes into 8 at least twice, which means they're bigger than the 1/4, which means that has to be our answer, 1/4. So again, the smallest one of those, that's the one we wanted on this one. That's because it said close. If it said farthest, we want the bigger numbers. 64 is asking which of these tables describes 3 to the negative x minus 2. Now, there's a lot of information here, there's a lot of numbers, but we can make it a little bit easier just by looking at these. Now, when we're looking at these, we want to plug a number in here to get these tables to work. So the 0 is the easiest one. If we plug in 3 to the negative 0 there, minus 2, and that becomes 3 to the 0 minus 2. 3 to the 0 power is 1 minus 2. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So by plugging in the 0, if it's negative 1, that means I can get rid of A and B. It's going to be either C or D. So now I've just got to choose between these two. If you look at the other choices, I've got a negative 1, and I got this ugly mixed number, a negative 1 and 1. So let's go ahead and plug in that negative 1. So the bottom down here, 3 to the negative 1. Notice I put the minus from that negative from the formula, minus 2, which means it's 3 to the positive 1 minus 2. This negative, negative cancel, which means it's 3 minus 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. You can see that. Which means it's not the ugly fraction, which means D is our answer for number 64. The last one here in this video I'll do is number 65. In 1987, the population of a small town was 700. If the annual rate of increase is about 0.8%, what value below expresses the population 5 years later? Since the increasing value is an exponential, it is increasing because of this percent, that means it's got to have an exponent on it. A and B don't have exponents, those are not going to be our answer. So now we think of this pattern A times B to the x, where you have the initial value and what you're multiplying by. And the initial value is the original population, which was 700, and notice they both have 700 in front. X would be the number of years that you're calculating for, and both of them have the 5. And notice that the only difference is that this one has 0.008, this one has 1.008. The one thing we have to remember here is that with the multiplier, the percentage has to be added to 100%. We have 100% plus that 0.8 that is going up each year, which is 100.8%. To change that to a multiplier for the equation, remember we have to change it to a decimal. Move this over twice, and we get 1.008. So for number 65, our answer is D.